It's
Welcome.
the power of J Skull.
We never pre-talk about this, do we? We should
We
organize this
never
better.
do. I think that the less organization, the better, if you want to know my opinion.
Well, I'm VHS Jason. Of course, that was Jason Roy Gaston proudly proclaiming that this is indeed the power of J Skull.
It is
And we
indeed.
are back again. If you haven't seen the thumbnail, which would be a surprise, because how did you click on this? We are talking about season 2 of He-Man and Masters of the Universe, episodes 1, 2, and 3, Jace.
Yes, from the Netflix animated He-Man, which I know a lot of our fans probably have not seen, but if you haven't seen it, you're not going to see it, so see it. It's actually quality.
I would say the first season, now I'm looking back and I've seen the whole completed first season, I look back and go, it was a solid start for what was essentially a reboot of the series. It was a very solid start.
Yes.
So
They
but
do
now we
trip a little bit, as they do, I think, in these 3 episodes. They trip quite a bit in some very frustrating ways, but we'll get into that later.
Yes, and you know what? That happens for me very early on in season 2, to be honest with
I
you.
already know what you're going to say.
Yeah, so I'm just going to get cracking into the first episode of season 2, which is called, Jason, The World Above.
The World Above.
Yep, absolutely. And The World Above literally starts us off with a little like father-son moment, happening inside the they're doing a bit of training, bit of son and father time. And it's a
Yes.
nice little scene to open up with, to re-establish that really at the core of this show, it is about a relationship between a father and son.
Yes, I thought it was a very, very nice flashback. Plus, it got us Keldor again. Hot Skeletor is back, even for just a moment, just kind of reminding us that at one point, yes, Skeletor was hot.
Yeah. You know who else was hot? Grandpa Grayskull in that painting.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I like he looks badass. Like I like him
Yes.
a lot.
We get to actually meet him later in this series.
Oh, very
and
cool.
it's actually one of my favorite Easter egg surprises that pop up. And I it's not until season 3, but I'm setting on it because I know as soon as you figure out what's going on, you're gonna freak.
Very cool. Well, yeah, but how slimy was like Keldor in there? Oh, it depends which what magic you use, or whether that line he was. And I'm like, the king just says nothing. Go, okay.
I know.
That's really red flaggish, but I'll let it go.
At one point, the king just has to stop and say, "You're evil, aren't you?" What? No, you are. You're evil. That's like the 5th hint you've dropped today. It's only like 5 minutes after breakfast. Keldor, are you evil? You have to tell me if I ask. Okay, fine. I'm evil.
One of the mysteries I thought might drag on a little bit in season 2, pretty well sorted out straight away, is what happened to Castle Grayskull.
Yep.
Well, we know exactly within moments of this episode what's happened to Castle Grayskull. It has landed in the it's not a city. Is it a city of Avalon? Is it a country? Is
Kingdom of Avalon.
Kingdom.
And
That's
yeah.
Yeah, this is where we get Avalon. And then, you know me, like, clearly my little character here is
I knew
Stratos.
you were going to have issues with this.
Stratos, straight away. No,
I knew you were going to have issues.
I'm very partial to 2002 iteration of Stratos. I feel
Yes,
like
Sean Connery Stratos.
Exactly, which I really loved a lot. But I'm very open-minded. I knew they were changing characters up here, Jason. All right,
Yeah.
I knew they were going to change up. I didn't realize it's what they were going to do with Stratos was basically turning him into the Falcon from the MCU. Wasn't what I was kind of expecting, and that's okay, the look wise, but it's his character that I really, really struggled, not just this episode, but all 3 episodes with a lot.
Yes, the rebooted Stratos. I think the look is great. I love the look. I've got the action figure somewhere, but my God, he has got the most grating, entitled, pompous personality. You just hate him instantly.
the problem is he never proves in the 3 episodes I've watched, and I know it's kind of jumping ahead, but especially what makes him a king.
Nothing.
Well, I can tolerate that kind of character if there are things about him that were kingly, if that's such a word, that were things that would make him, oh yeah, he's got this. Yes, he's brash. Yes, he's cocky. Yes, he's annoying, but he does this. We don't see this at all, with him.
In Stratos's defense in this first episode, you do see he does have mad flying skills. He's really good at what he does in the air, but he's not good at anything else. He is reckless and stupid and almost gets the mission completely destroyed just because he's a moron.
Yeah. And I think it's more, they've kind of written this character more for comedy's sake than I feel like for really important plot-driven reasons. And I think it very much narrows our point of view of what that kingdom is, though, because his guards are all like, yeah, man, you rock, high five, you're awesome. And that doesn't feel like it narrows my perception on what it is. But, it's early on in the season. Who knows what they're going to do with that character?
It's not going to get better.
It's
really not.
I do like Flying Grayskull, though.
That is cool, yes.
But I like it. And
if you have the playset, of this Castle Grayskull, it actually looks like it's flying because there's a gap in between the bottom and whatever surface you put it on. So basically Grayskull is floating. And it is cool. I like it a lot. I mean, whether or not you enjoyed this iteration of Masters of the Universe or whether you hated it, the Castle Grayskull playset that came with this series is amazing.
I must admit, I think the designs, although immediately was jarring because of 40 years of pre-programming of what He-Man's supposed to look like, I have developed a fondness for their designs quite a lot. I think their toys are gorgeous, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm probably going to get into start collecting these He-Man figures and that now because... Well, they're probably going to stop manufacturing, aren't they? Really?
Oh, they've already stopped. You can get them really, really cheap online nowadays, like at Deep Discount or someplace. I don't know if they ship to Australia, but Deep Discount has them for like $5 a piece right now.
Oh, cool.
There's only one action figure I have not gotten, and that's the Mosquitara action figure because we'll get into her later.
Oh, well, yeah, we'll get into her later.
Yeah,
in a positive way. Okay, let's move on to this next part of this episode. Meantime, inside Castle Grayskull, there's a whole thing that I feel like they kind of just go, oh, yeah, she's gone now, and don't really spend like the amount of time I think they should have on that scenario. That the one person, the whole and mighty, she's gone. She's done a run it, and they don't know why.
Well, did you even catch that Stratos sentences them to death?
Oh, yeah.
And they just kind of go, okay, and then they walk into the castle.
Yeah.
And then I know they bring it up later, but it just seems so strange. Like, I sentenced you to get thrown off of Avion. Okay. Hey, guys, come into Grayskull. Excuse us for a second. Yeah, sure. Go into the castle that just appeared out of nowhere. That's not suspicious at all.
Yeah, there's definitely two things wrong with that scene. It's one, what he says and how he says it. Like, it's the fact, okay, well, when they're done repairing my stretch, just throw them overboard.
Yeah,
like,
very weird.
Hang on, that's a weird thing for an eventual good guy to be saying at any point. You know what I mean? And yeah, their reaction to that was like, okay, that's very threatening and alarming, but we're cool. We'll walk into the, yeah. Another issue
weird.
There.
Very weird.
It is a very odd way to kind of start it. But we've got three groups really going, haven't we?
We do.
No, two main groups. Really.
Yeah, we've got the people on Avion, and then we have Teela and Orc-O and King Randor in the depths of Eternos.
Well, just trying to hide out on the streets at this point.
Yes.
And as Skeletor is rampaging through the streets like a mad dictator, well, he's on his way to find the well, we'll get into that because this is the first time I've heard of this thing. And it's just kind of come up out of nowhere, but there is purpose for him going through the town. But he sends Beastman after the after Teela and King Randor and all that, which really like Beastman. I've got to say.
I love this iteration of Beastman.
Yeah, everything
I don't
about
know if I
Beastman
would
is rock solid.
I don't know if I would call him my favorite, but I just love the design, and I love the Rakaz personality that's behind him. I really, like you said, he's solid. It's a solid redesign, and it works.
Yep. And not just his look, but how he carries himself as a character and what he's doing. And I really like in this episode we start to establish Nemesis.
Yes.
Really like that. I am somebody who kind of digs the fact that Battle Cat named Rakaz his nemesis. And
yes.
I like the fact they're pairing off and they're taking ownership that that's the guy I've got to face off.
Yes. And of course, I'm assuming that you noticed what Ram Mam observed.
Yes.
She doesn't have one.
No, and this is something that keeps going throughout the next couple of episodes too about her.
Yes.
This is something that I'm picking up on. I'm a bit concerned about where they're going to go with her character. But essentially, I thought this, besides the fact I didn't like Stratos at all, I like the idea of them going there and starting to reconnect to the different corners of Eternia. I just wish there was something more there in the sky than what they delivered us. But the ring race is pretty cool. I can't argue the ring race.
A bit unfair, and Stratos does cheat to win, which makes me like him even less. But it was cool. Although,
I picked up my controller and thought I was playing Pilot Wings again, but it was all good.
I thought it was Superman 64, but sure, why not? Oh, flashbacks. Oh my god. Flashback.
Still remember that.
I did think it was kind of convenient how He-Man gets powers that help him in that specific scene, like the sword surfing. We've never seen that before. To my knowledge, I don't think we ever see it again.
No. Well, his sword is kind of like that bag from Felix the Cat, isn't it? There's always something in there. There's always something to save the day. Yeah. So
it's the Dr. Sonic screwdriver. Whatever I need it to do for this situation, it's going to do it.
It's going to do it. Exactly right. So, but overall, I kind of dug the race. I like the fact that He-Man was struggling for the most of that. I really appreciate he didn't actually win it.
Yes, because Stratos cheated.
Because Stratos cheated. Exactly.
He would have won it, but Stratos cheated. We don't like Stratos already. That's fine. Go ahead and cheat.
Okay, so before I move on from Stratos, let's just do this. What good characteristics does this guy have? He cheats. He's got a maniacal ego. He's a little bit psychotic because he's willing to kill them.
He is a pompous braggart. He is a what do you call it?
Obviously not a good leader.
No, not a good leader at all.
At all, because he's constantly...
He's a gaslighter.
He's a narcissist.
A narcissist, that's the word I was looking for. He's a despicable human being with no redeeming qualities at all. He is literally
character, guys. He's my favorite character.
I'm sorry.
He-Man is Stratos, and this is what they deliver.
It slightly inconveniences me to say this because I know he's your favorite character, and now I have to listen to you whine. But he's literally the worst. He's the worst character on this show. And he does not get any better. He actually gets more insufferable as the series goes on. He's not a regular. He only pops up every once in a while, but oh my gosh, just terrible.
Ouch. Well, whether I like it or not, that's the reality. And the second reality is they've kind of all are now buddy-buddy. And it just really ends with they can hang out for a while. They didn't win, but
there's
you
city,
did save my entire kingdom because of my incompetence. But I'll let you hang around.
I love how the city appears as like far off in the distance because they could not afford to make the city. It's like, so the king is literally just hanging out like in the outskirts of his city
on
a couple of floating islands. Yeah, it's not even the suburbs. It's basically like on the railroad tracks next to the Denny's. It's just so far away.
So I must admit, Jason, at the end of this first episode, I was a bit shook. Not in the best way possible. I was a bit like, wow, okay, this is totally not sitting well with me.
Yeah, it's completely understandable. And I get you. It is this is bad. This was a bad. I wouldn't say completely bad, but as far as meeting a reimagined character, this was bad. This was a bad reimagining.
Let's talk to some couple of positives before we knock it out. Skeletor, I like the direction that's going. The fact that we get our first mention of the brand new MacGuffin.
Oh yes, the Sigil of Hiss.
What a cool name. A sigil.
Yes,
What is a sigil?
I have absolutely
Never
no
heard
idea
of
what a
it.
sigil is.
Why?
Do any of these characters even know what a sigil is? You know, they're like, I just want to see them in a couple of episodes. Go,
Yeah.
We've got the last part of the Sigil of Hiss. Now let's put them together. Great. What's a sigil? I thought you knew.
I love that the sigil of Hiss is not actually spelled Hiss. It's spelled HSSS.
Yes, because that's how King Hiss's name was spelled, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
But I thought that was a nice little touch.
Masters
you
of the
two of that.
Universe, King Hiss. I'm curious.
Let
me see.
Finding out now.
Don't. Okay, now it's going to search for Masters of the Universe, King Hiss. I'm curious. No, it's spelled HISS.
Oh, the stuff
So-
I have here says HSSS.
But- Oh yeah, but here it's spelled HSSSS.
Well, it looks like there's multiple spellings.
Yes.
What that implies, I like a lot. Now we've got a new thing, a goal for Skeletor. Means we're going to start to delve into the area of the Snake Men. Yeah, I think even though I did not enjoy this first episode, I think there were enough kernels here to set things up in a good way for the season upcoming. So, yeah.
I completely agree. I think that although it was not a good episode, it does at least lay a good foundation. Not a great foundation, but a good one.
All right. Now let's move on to the second episode of our 3-episode watch. We went to the world above. Now we're going to the world below.
Oh yes. Well, you know, we gotta have those dancing titles there, which I admit I like. I like that gimmick. I think it's cool.
Well, I like the gimmick too, and I'll tell you what. If up was down for me, then I've got to admit down was kind of up for me in this episode. To me, I overall really did like the iteration of a character that they've come in and redid. I enjoyed a lot. And what I'm talking about is the introduction in this episode of our man Manny Faces.
I love how they got Manny Faces back to his theatrical roots, and they leaned hard into it. At first,
I love it.
when I first saw him, I was like, "Ooh, what have they done to my friend Manny?" And then, oh, hey, I like this. I like this a lot.
And I especially love how his key role for him as a king is to entertain his people.
Yes.
And he does this grandiose Shakespearean style performance, cleverly using the different faces that he has at his disposal to deliver all the lines differently. I just thought it was great. I really kind of liked it. I also liked the fact that in this episode, you know, we have a real conflict between the world above and below.
Yes.
And what the world of below perceived the world of above to be. And it's a real awakening for King Randor.
Yes, I really like the whole idea of dueling kings, both of which don't recognize each other's authority. And, you know, yeah, like you said, Randor has the opportunity to grow here, and he does. It's the difference between a bad character like Stratos, who does not learn, and a good character like Randor, who does.
I mean, he listens. He actually listens and hears what's happened to himself.
Turn my alarms.
What happens to the people he doesn't recognize?
Yes.
You're right there.
Yeah, my Alexa is reminding me to do something.
I thought what was going on. I thought it's someone breaking into his room. Is
No.
it Manny Faces going, "You loved my performance."
You loved it. You loved it. You loved it.
Did you not feel just a touch of being reminded of Clayface from Harlequin?
Just a smidge, yes.
Just a little bit.
If Alan Tudyk had voiced Manny Faces, I would have been in heaven. I am an actor. I don't trust you, Randor.
Skeletor, I kind of like where he's at in the second episode. He's kind of running things, right?
Yeah,
He's got what he
he's comfortable
wants.
in that. Yeah.
He's comfortable. He's hanging out, looking at Grandpa Grayskull.
He is very
I
chill.
love his line in that.
Yeah.
I love his line where he goes, and I thought it would be good to be a king, but it was better to be a god. And I think to myself, this Skeletor, the voice actor of Skeletor, who I can't remember his name, I do apologize. Mate, your iteration is fantastic. Your voice acting as Skeletor is starting to really rival some of the greats here.
Yes.
From my perspective.
I completely agree. Yes.
Yeah, and it was something I wouldn't have expected, but yeah, he's really good. Like, really good.
He is. And I like the fact that he's doing Skeletor, but at the same time, he's not copying Alan Opperman. He's doing his own thing using Alan Oppenheimer as a base.
Yeah, maybe
I love that.
It's inspired.
Yes.
You know.
Well, you can't do Skeletor without doing Alan Oppenheimer or Alan Oppenheimer. Yeah, you just can't. Even somebody like Mark Hamill, even he was channeling Alan Oppenheimer a little bit.
Because he got it right the first time.
Yeah, he's the OG.
Yeah. Yeah. But he does it really good. What I also like about the Skeletor is, although, he doesn't, the way they've written him here, instead of just losing every single time, he sometimes wins and he's always inching forward to his target.
Yes.
So I feel like this Skeletor isn't a loser.
No, he's not incompetent. He's smart. He's a tactician. He is a threat.
I mean, he's smart enough to know that the guys were headed for Snake Mountain.
Yeah.
Because he had that gut feeling and said, I'm going back because something ain't right. Because the last time they enacted the power of Grayskull, he felt it in the castle. And that's where we went, well, we're going to go back. And that's a sign of a good leader. He knows what he was doing, a good tactician.
He is. And I love the fact that he is constantly outsmarting people. That was one thing. I love all the incarnations of Skeletor. Even the one from the New Adventures of He-Man, I watch and I'm just like, yeah, there are things about the Skeletor I like. But this one, to me, is the single biggest threat that He-Man's ever faced, simply because he is ruthless and smart, and he's smarter than He-Man. And that's it. He's just smarter than He-Man.
He is, without question. You can't argue that at all, I don't think. In every scene they have, even in all the flashback scenes with Skeletor, they always double down on how much of an awful human being this guy is. Like, in the old flashbacks, he's rotten to the core, and I love it.
He is. And he has so much fun being bad, and that's what makes him so much fun to watch.
Yeah, yeah. And we're getting to when they get to Snake Mountain, but we end up having a really great little action scene outside of Snake Mountain, which is really cool. But before we get there, I have to mention the annoying Stratos again. Yeah, this guy just sitting on the throne, just like, I get it, all right? He thinks he's all that, but surely he can bring something else to the table. No, he doesn't.
Literally no.
He won't even play ball with the guys, will he? At all. Because when Skeletor and Evil Lyn start come running, what does Mr. Airy Fairy do? He decides just to fly, attack him. Yeah. Attack him.
Because he thinks he's all that.
Because he's not thinking.
No.
He's dumb. He's stupid. And also shows how much of a nothing character he is, and how much the writers think he's a nothing character. Because when he flies over him, Jace, Skeletor just goes,
yep,
like a casual swatting a fly. So he's no asset to the team whatsoever.
I remember when season 2 came out on Netflix, they actually had the nerve to make Stratos the character on the thumbnail.
Oh,
and
really?
I was 3 episodes in, and every time I saw that stupid face on that thumbnail, I just got angry. I was just, how dare you? How dare you?
Yeah. Well, thankfully, we have a lot better characters that are surrounding Stratos than just Stratos. And we have obviously the moment where they turn the battlers on, but Duncan and our favourite Battle Cat. By the way, I would say I would sell my house. I would sell everything just to get that guy to do my phone message.
Oh my
The guy
gosh,
that
I
does Battle
know. He's just got
Has he
such a
done movie
wonderful.
trailers before or something?
I don't know. He
Because,
should do all the movie trailers now.
Oh,
He needs to be the new movie
voiceovers for
trailer voice
anything.
guy. I miss the movie
Absolutely.
trailer voice guy.
But they what they do is they find this hole, this like pathway to the underground of Snake Mountain, because they're after the second part of the sigil of I feel like if there's no I in there, I've got to go yeah.
Hiss.
Yeah, the sigil of us.
Hiss.
Meanwhile, we got a great little fight going between Teela and Beastman, which I kind of really love.
Yes.
Again, the action scenes are top notch in this.
They are.
show.
They are great. even if they are a little repetitive with the Pokemon type fighting. Because
Oh,
that does
I
that
think
does
that's
get
a
on my
path
nerves.
you have to accept, right? And
I-
even over 3
I
episodes, I'm like,
Do
did
not,
we
and
need
I
the
will
full-length
not.
transitions, but
Well, that, Wings of Zor!
I will
Claws
say,
of Fury!
and it really added nothing
Pikachu,
to
lightning attack!
Yeah, but they just knock each other out. They
Yeah.
don't even serve any purpose in that actual fight.
Saves money on
But
animation.
it's, yeah, you're saving money. And that fight in the arena is the turning point between Mannyface is realizing that, hey, maybe what Teela's saying about you can't trust Skeletor is actually kind of true, because it comes to a nice little fight where we get to see Mannyface's battle it out. And it seems like a fair kind of the same weight class, if you know what I'm saying.
He's a
Like, it's fair
respectable
match.
brawler, and
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
Yeah. No, that was kind of pretty good. And then obviously from that begins the healing between the two kings, where they actually utter the words, Jason, compromise and diplomacy,
Yes.
which is a very good sign for
Two of my
both.
favorite words.
two of the favorite words. It's really good. This is a strong episode, Jason. I'm digging
Yes.
this one far more than I dug the first one.
And you are forgetting, my friend, we are introduced to yet another redesigned and reintroduced character at the very end. And that was when they
yes.
release the Triclops.
Yes, hadn't got there yet, but yeah, okay. When I see that at the end of episode 2, I'm like, oh, what have they done to Triclops? But we'll get into my what I think about that and how it develops in episode 3. But yeah, that's the big teaser at the end, because Skeletor says send out Triclops, and I'm like, yeah, man, okay, well, who's Triclops? And to see it to be basically a drone, I don't know how I was feeling by that, but it was
Well,
still a solid episode.
How did you feel about Orko being a drone?
That was cool though, because of the development they put into that.
Yeah, they don't develop Triclops nearly as much, but
No, but he's
just
got a
kinda like-
very cool gimmick.
he does. He does have a very cool gimmick.
Very cool, which we'll get into now.
Yes.
Into episode 3 of season 2, which is a Eternia 2000.
Yes.
Very retro title. I like that.
It is. It is a retro title. It's like whenever, oh no, we had all these movies and stuff, Death Race 2000 and Dracula 2000. You remember whenever they released Dracula 2000 in theaters like 11 days before New Year's of 2001?
Yeah, it's like,
This
we get
movie
it.
has an 11-day shelf life.
That's it. All right, season 3, we're in Eternia 2000. Now this is where you were going back to Ram Man before, and
Yes.
something's not right with Ram Man, and we definitely are told this very clearly in the beginning of this episode, as she's pondering her abilities to the Muriel. And the reason that is, and I kind of left it out of the last episode, in the moment where she looks like she was going to be defeated, He-Man yells out to her, use the gold. She can't do it. She couldn't do it. So she's doubting herself. I think she's starting to have a bit of an existential crisis here, Jace.
Yes, it does seem that way, doesn't it?
She's never been uber confident so far in this show, I believe. I always feel she wears her heart on her sleeve. I think she's whatever's going to be coming up and this going on. I think her journey is going to be a big part of it. So, all right,
yes, you are.
You don't want to comment and ruin anything.
Nope.
I get
no,
it.
I don't want to comment or ruin anything, but it does not get resolved quickly. Let me put it that way.
Well, you can ruin this because
it's already ruined. The Stratos is there.
I do like the fact that she's starting to call out Adam and going, hey, man, like, why are you letting this dude walk all over you? Like, you're supposed to be the leader, and this guy's just coming through like a bulldozer and running everything.
Yeah, and Adam's a wimp.
Adam, he's the nice guy. He's too much of the nice guy.
He wants to play the diplomacy card, which, in his defense, Evil Lyn actually even says later it's important that we don't make an enemy out of Avion. So I can kind of get it, but at the same time, he's so annoying.
Yeah. No, she actually said that in the last. We don't want to make enemies. We don't want to take on a war from above.
Yes.
So because she's not scared of anything normally, but
no.
Wow.
Well, she just doesn't want Stratos around. That's what it is. She's not scared of him. She's just annoyed as much as we are.
Someone kick him out of the party. Skeletor in this scene, if you can see in his hand, Jace, he's been able to acquire a diary because this king thinks it's great to let out all his secrets in written form.
Yes.
That can be easily found.
Well, of course. Randor is kind of an idiot at times.
Yeah, at times. He can clearly.
Be. Yeah.
That one in here. But you know what I like about this scene, though, James? It's good because he's talking to the henchmen because they're going, it's a nice little banter between them. It's like, hey, have you heard from Evil Lyn? Like, how's Evil Lyn doing? Like, and the other one goes, oh, yeah, no, I haven't heard nothing. And then Skeletor puts some havoc in their mouth so they can't talk. I just kind of like that. Oh, it was very cool. Because we kind of didn't mention that either. They, in the last episode, at the end of it, Evil Lyn got kicked out of the game.
Yep. She got exiled.
I don't know why.
What did she do? She just...
Well, he said I was sick of the betrayal, but I'm thinking...
because she went after the sigil without him? Was that it?
I think so. And I think he was probably also annoyed at her saying, like, hey, you're making a dumb move with Stratos. Yeah. Like, I don't know. But it seemed very harsh. But Skeletor...
He's a harsh dude.
That's it. He's a harsh dude.
Yeah.
So, now, that's a great... You know what I like about this? Feels like an episode of Clone Wars to me, or someone was watching Snowpiercer when writing this episode. But the idea of the vault being on a moving train, I'm like, yeah, I'm in. This is a cool little idea.
A train that took off when the castle was invaded. I thought, it's not a bad idea, actually.
Not a bad idea, and it's got add a bit of speed in that because if it slows down, it blows up.
Yes,
I'm like, cool. I'm with it. I can go with this. This is kind of cool. That's a fun part of it. Hey, no, getting back to Triclops. Now, Orko, though, he had this weird thing. Is in this episode, he goes, no, it's Ork-O.
Yes, Ork-O.
Ork-O. Yeah, he corrects Teela at one point.
Yeah, and then that's what I said. Orko. No, Ork-O. So I guess you can tell. I don't know.
Yeah. Now he's going to protect the king, and he sees someone walking around drunk, and we find out, and I thought this was cool, Triclops' gimmick is he can attach himself to people like on their head and then kind of masks themselves as the person that he's controlling.
Yes.
And he's kind of using them as like meat puppets.
Yes.
And I'm like, cool.
That is
All
pretty
right.
rad. Yes.
Yeah, all right. I'm on board with the Triclops because I get what you're doing here with it. And the way they filmed it is very creepy too.
He is. He's like a spider.
Yeah, can't be trusted at all. Very dangerous. So loved it. Loved it. Thought Triclops was like, wow. Talk about how never judge anything on first impressions. That is a great example, Triclops. The image I saw at the end of episode 2 went, oh my oi. And then within 5-10 minutes, I'm like, this guy is awesome.
Well, sometimes you can judge things by your first impression. My first impression of Stratos is that he's a douche.
Yeah,
and that was pretty much spot on.
Yeah. Anyway,
I know I brought up
cool part of
Ish who shall not be named.
Really cool part of this. Really great action scene. So, hey, let's give a shout out to the animation stuff.
Absolutely, look at that.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Love
and
that.
that's just a freeze frame of
it's so great. I
and
love
it's
the
just so
mixture of
beautifully
3D animation and 2D elements in this series. It just looks so good together.
What they do is everything environmental is done in 2D. So if it's wind, fire, explosions, all that kind of, it's great. It just makes it stand out and looks different. And this is really cool. And they kind of got to figure out what they got to do. They're in there to go and get the sigil of and then and it's great. So we have battles galore, including a great little fight between Skeletor and He-Man on top of the train. And then we get this new character, which you briefly mentioned, where I'm like, who is this? I didn't know in the figure. Is this brand new or am I forgetting something? Mosquitara.
Mosquitara is a gender-swapped version of Mosquitor.
Aha!
The original run of action figures. I think that this is the first time that this character has appeared in animation at all.
Love the design.
Yes.
Love the idea that she goes to drain energy.
Well, Mosquitor drained blood because it was the 80s and no one cared.
Yeah, and this one, no. And I love her philosophy. There's no good, there's no bad, there's only power. Yes. And I want all of it. Yes. Like, you go, girl. You go get that. I'm with you.
You get that power. I'm right there behind you. You get it.
How do we feel about the internals of the train?
Okay, the internals of the train gave me some of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Because I love scenes where the primary antagonist and primary protagonist basically just have to deal with each other's presence. They can't fight. They just have to deal with each other. And I think that that's the funniest, most just fun thing ever.
And it carries out in 3 ways, isn't it? Because the first one they go into, like, quickly realize, boom, blows it up, right?
Yeah.
And then the second one is where they have to kind of play nice. And it's really
Please twirl me.
Oh, that's the third train where we go
that's
into.
Right, the third one, right.
The third one is that disco.
The dance.
So they do this dance to just while away the time while they're looking after it. And which ends up being a fantastic safety mechanism as they go back and forth trying to twirl to get it. Now, one of the robots falls in love with Skeletor.
Because why wouldn't you? She probably saw pictures of hot Skeletor. I don't know.
It's completely goofy and silly, but I'm laughing at it. I'm
good
with it.
I don't mind when He-Man goes goofy. I mean, 80s He-Man went goofy. This one goes goofy. It was funny. I laughed.
Yeah. It made for a very entertaining scene as they're kind of dancing back and forth trying to get it. And then obviously for our most unlikable character in this series comes through to kind of try and steal it. Well, just come and save the day in his own selfish way. But with all the negative I've had with Stratos, there is a really great stream with Stratos. There is in this episode. That's when they tell him to take a hike.
Yes. Yes, and he looks like he's going to cry, which I really liked.
Yeah, so it's the greatest scene Stratos has been in
Yes.
so far in the
My
series.
favorite Stratos scene is just him leaving.
And
Unfortunately,
plus-
that's not the last we're gonna see of him.
No, because we get this.
Yeah.
We get this after, well, not an after credits, but it functions the same way, where he's now approached Mesquitra. Is that it? Mesquitra?
Mosquitara.
Mesquitara. And hey, do you ever heard of the Avengers Initiative, basically seen? So
Would you like to form an alliance
yes,
with me?
yes, that's the one.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I don't know what
yeah.
I'm doing here. I think it has something to do with Spider-Man.
No, that's basically where we ended up. But again, a very good episode. So out of the 3 episodes this week, Jace, 2 of them were quite good, I thought. And one of them was pretty shocking. And the negative really comes as an after effect of who they introduced in episode 1. In episode 2 and 3. So
I have to pretty much agree. I think that the 3rd episode, Eternia 2000, was my favorite. Also, I don't know if you caught the Blade Runner reference that they pulled. I think it was in the last. No, it was in this episode. Whenever Orko wakes up, he says, "Look into the eyes of the Rutger. Look into the eyes of the Rutger. Origami swans." He was dreaming about Blade Runner.
He was dreaming about Blade, yes.
I just thought,
unicorns.
oh my god, I didn't catch that the first
unicorns.
time. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Rutger.
Yeah, that was
Rutger
nuts.
Hauer.
I did pick up on that, and then afterwards I went, nah. Well, maybe someone's just thrown that as an Easter egg, but yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So a lot of potential with this season. There's 10 episodes in total with this season.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so I'm very interested to see where it goes. We've definitely now knowing what the aim is to have all the pieces of the sigil of ready to put together to have an army of the undead. So,
or something. Or something.
But which is weird because I'm like, well, you kind of did that with Havoc already. Like, do you really need that power? That's the question.
Of course he
Why
does.
is that power more important than powers you've already had?
Because it's snake powers.
Yeah. Well, I'll go with that. Otherwise, there would be no season 2, would there? They've got to bring in the snake men somehow, don't we?
Yeah. I will say,
not
not really spoiling anything, but this is actually the only time the snake men have been used in a good way. So.
Right, okay. Well, I mean, you're not spoiling if you want, because I know how they previously used snake men throughout this franchise, and no, it has not always been bad. To me, my impression, to be honest with you, what snake men represent for the He-Man franchise has always been, we're coming to the end of that show.
Yeah.
Like, snake men usually indicates that we're on a downward trajectory now.
Man, that's pretty much what happens with this show too. Whenever you see the snake man, you're like, "Whoop, show's almost over."
Maybe we're getting one more season. Maybe. Yeah, there you go. But still, I love every minute of it. Even what I hate, I still love, because it's. I wish. I'd be really upset right now. Probably more so I am now that the show's over. But I wish I had jumped on when the show had first come released, because it's I like it. I like the boldness. I like the reinterpretations, even if they don't all hit the mark, which clearly they don't. Sooner or later, why not have us take a swing and see if you can do something different with it? I mean, yeah, I think they've created a show to really try to attract the young people again. I think that's smart.
Well, as I said before, I think that I really started enjoying the show when I realized it was not made for me. It was made for people 40 years younger than me. And once I realized that, I got cool with it. It does not destroy anything that came before. All it does is just introduce new people into this world that we love. And we can welcome them with open arms if we want to. Or you can be a jackass and just say, "This is not real He-Man, and if you like it, it's not real He-Man." Don't be that way.
I just think it's an organic kind of evolution and growth over a concept that has now been informed by 40 years of other programming and ideas and stories. Like you say, the Pokemon. Of course, the cartoon We are heavily influenced by anime with our animation now, and rightfully so. So, even ideas and concepts now infused into He-Man, and I'm totally cool with it. Yeah, it's just the way it is. And, yeah, it's a shame it's over. But
it's not over for us yet.
Not for us. We've got a
Not
long
for
way
us.
to go.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a long,
yeah.
long way. We're not even halfway through this series yet.
Nope.
So, and that means next week next time we come back, we'll be looking at episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Correct.
So, and then we're getting into the meat of this series, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, how long ago was it? Well, it came out March 2022, apparently. You watched this when it was released, Jason?
I did watch this when it was released.
Mm-hmm. So that's the last time you've seen those previous
Yes, that was the
episodes?
last time I saw it. So this is kind of rediscovering for me, too. As I said, this is the first time I ever caught the Blade Runner reference, which was fun. I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, guys, that's it from us. Don't forget to check out everything else on the Jason Roy Gaston channel. There is so much great entertainment on there, not just this show. There's If You Don't Agree, You're Wrong, our weekly live show. There's a VHS file. There's Jason's watches literally everything. He's out there suffering and watching everything he can so he can inform you people out there. We've got
life.
streaming games online too. There's so much going. Sorry,
Yes,
Jason, didn't mean to.
I said I have no life.
You have a life, a very productive life, and that is the Jason Roy Gaston channel.
Absolutely.
Stick around, guys.
Please do.
And see a lot more amazing content coming your way.
Sponsor us on Patreon. Oh my gosh.
Yes, sponsor him on Patreon.
Patreon.
He's running out of toilet paper.
Absolutely. I'm having to use
Could
my
just
cats.
go and buy them, but he says it feels better if he wipes his butt with Patreon toilet paper.
Hey, you know what? The bidets in Japan spoiled me.
I don't know. That's something that I need to think about and soul search whether I'd like
Don't
that.
think about it. Just do it. Just do it. You will thank me.